And then the other aspect is it tells you easily what your own boundaries are. So that anchor into values is so much more than just this true north. It's a measurement for, are you living your life in accordance to how you want to? It tells you how you can engage with people up front and let them know what you expect. When you make decisions with intentionality, it allows you to not live this life of regret.
Y'all, I am thrilled to bring you another fantastic client interview guest appearance today. So welcome to the pod, Aiko Bethea. So Aiko is a nationally recognized thought leader, speaker, and facilitator. She actually leads thoughts, y'all, not just one of those people who says, I'm a thought leader, and then just says the same shit, who advances transformational and accountable leadership through executive coaching, practice-based learning, and systems-level change. She is the founder of Rare Coaching Consulting, where she and her team of executive coaches support leaders and teams at Fortune 100 companies and global nonprofit organizations. Her work is grounded in a powerful leadership framework, which we're going to talk about a little bit today, that helps individuals anchor in values, align intentions and actions, and lead with accountability, an approach she uses to help leaders build cultures of trust, clarity, and impact. Aiko has served all over the frickin' place. She's been an executive or in executive roles with the City of Atlanta, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center. I hear that all the time because that is based here in Seattle, where I live and where Aiko used to live, but I have never said it out loud. So the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, also everyone here calls it Fred Hutch. She also led the development of the Daring Way and Dare to Lead facilitator communities at the Brené Brown Education and Research Group, where she designed the global belonging strategy for a network of more than 1,500 facilitators. And she continues to support the leadership development program at the Brené Brown Education and Research Group. Yes, I dropped that name. So let's recognize the impact of that. As a sought-after leader and trusted advisor, Aiko has been recognized by Forbes as one of the top 7 anti-racism educators for companies and was named by Culture Amp as a leading voice in inclusive and equitable leadership. Her writing has been featured in the Harvard Business Review, Forbes, and the New York Times bestselling anthology, You Are Your Best Thing, edited by Tarana Burke and Brené Brown. So Aiko is also a recovering lawyer with a law degree from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and a bachelor's degree from Smith. I should have known you graduated from Smith. Her upcoming book, Anchored, Aligned, and Accountable, How to Transcend the Bullshit to Live a Transformational Life at Home and Work, will be published by Penguin Random House right now, like when this book comes out in April, or when this podcast comes out in April of 2026. Aiko, welcome to the pod.
Glad to be here, Megan. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I have to start. I'm really fucking excited to talk about this book today, you guys. I feel like this book has been in the making for like 8 years because it has. It literally kind of has. So I want to start by talking about the subtitle because we work on a lot of leadership books and business books, leadership books. They're kind of dry. They're sort of boring. They're very vanilla, right? And that's kind of intentional. But your book comes in hot with a framework for transcending bullshit and transforming our lives and work. Can you share how you define personally and professionally the bullshit so that everybody's on the same page in the context of your work and this book in particular?
Oh man, there's so much bullshit. But I think about it, the things that present themselves as barriers or obstacles to us being connected, for us having rest, for us making decisions that we feel proud of, for us showing up as closely to our aspirational selves as possible. And some of the examples which I go through in the book just include things like community and family of origin. So the stories and things that come out of that in terms of the narration, like Megan is the oldest child and the oldest daughter, and therefore she should X, Y, and Z. Or in our community, in our family, we never do X, Y, and Z. Are people like us? We always X, Y, and Z. And it's so ingrained in your DNA and your belief and your story about the world and yourself that it can be a hindrance because you never question it. It's just there. There's just so many levels of it, even in terms of our ego. So ego in itself isn't bad. It's like a net neutral, but it's when ego is also doing other things as well. Like I want to be in the front. I want to be the right person. I want to X, Y, and Z. Perfectionism. So there's just a slew of things, but many of them are so internal to us that we don't ever notice it. But yet they dictate our acts and omissions quickly. Like we don't even weigh it into pros and cons or as that third rail that's acting on us. We just are making decisions acting as if they're net neutral or objective, or that we wrote everything down in a concrete way of our pros list and our cons list, and they're actually buried. And unless we excavate them, look at them, and name them, they're always going to be acting on us. And we're always reacting. And so, therefore, you can't live the life you want. You can't really take the actions of the person you aspire to be. You stay on a hamster wheel.
Yeah, I see that a lot. I see that a lot with like the people that want a book deal but like don't want to do the work. They'll throw all sorts of excuses at me, women especially, right? It's always the kids or the family or the job or and I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is in that regard. I mean, I think this book in many ways is about leadership, but I also noticed a lot of concepts throughout that are really about ourselves and our awareness of how we're showing up, and these beliefs that sort of unconscious, implicit, sort of run underneath as like our operating system almost. So, did you intend when you wrote this book to also write a kind of sneaky self help book, disguise as a leadership book? Because when I was reading it, I was like, you could go to coaching or therapy, or you could read Aiko's book.
Well, I think people think about leadership as if it's just this skill set and these tools that you do in a vacuum, but your ability to do them and the way that you do them has so much to do with your inner landscape. And because the vantage point in which I'm coming from isn't as an attorney per se, but more of an executive coach, I'm thinking about the whole person. Like the barriers in why somebody does something isn't usually because they don't know how to do the thing, because they can Google anything or AI will tell you right away if you want to give feedback, these are the steps you take. But in terms of the inner landscape and understanding what the barriers are for you to execute, are to execute in a way that aligns with who you want to be and the impact you want, that's the internal work. So you can read as many Forbes magazine articles and HBR articles, but the way and the how in which you do something, and even your intrinsic motivation to do it and take it on, has a lot to do with your inner landscape. And if you don't do that work, it's going to be misses all over the place, or the impact that you have is not going to be the one that you want.
That's awesome. Okay. So when we talk about, there's a lot of books about becoming your highest self, right? And acting in alignment with your beliefs. Where do you think folks get that wrong? Where do you think people get stuck on the hamster wheel despite all their best efforts and the goals they set?
Okay, so I completely agree. Just like everybody and their mother is a coach, everybody has done the values exercise, right? And some of the values exercises are like their top 5 values, your top, etc. What I've learned with coaching and working with folks is that people haven't even done that work about really what are my top true blue values in terms of dictating who I am at my core and want to be. So folks will say, oh, my top 2 values are faith and family because they sound great. That's what I kind of want them to be. And because I'm adhering to the bullshit of this is how we are, our community, our family, all these other things, people say that without really thinking about the things that weigh down on them, how they would want to make a decision, how they want to feel later, the impact they want to have. So they haven't actually threaded the needle on really what are your values that you would want to dictate who you are and the impact you have. And that idea of being wise enough to not say faith just because that's what everybody wants you to say or what you wish you would say versus what they truly are. When I really nailed down what my top 2 values are, they were things that I would have, well, one was one that I would have never guessed, and it was loyalty. And I never would have said loyalty until I did the work. And this was over a several month span. So it's not that you just get down in your 30 minutes. What's your top 2 values? You're actually threading a needle. And when you got the 15 and the 20, et cetera, you're looking at why. Why did I say those? What's the common thread? What's the commonality? So it's not even about the word, like the word loyalty, because I know what the behaviors are around it. Oh, I want people to tell me the truth no matter what. and I want people to invite me to tell the truth no matter what. And to me, that's what loyalty is. Whereas somebody else would say, oh, then your value really is trust. Doesn't even matter the word. It is the behavior, because now that's what I'm going to hold myself accountable to. And that's what I'm going to be seeking and realizing, wow, this is why I'm not in alignment with these people, this person, or this organization. And that's why the behavior part is most important. When people see that, they're like, oh, the behavior is what allows you to increase accountability, to measure your fidelity, and also sometimes to measure things like your own somatic ease. Like, oh, what's going on in my gut or what's happening for me right now that doesn't feel right? And you realize, oh, it's because I have to keep covering all the time. And I can't tell this person what the hell I really think, or they're not allowing me to, or this person, I they went over here and said this, but they're not telling me to my face. They're not telling me, or later they say, "Oh man, yeah, I knew that back when." Well, why didn't you tell me? And for me to understand that is what the highest value is, or for me, I can now also create those boundaries with people in terms of saying, like, if I'm leading a team, you know what, this is really critical to me, is that you never hide the truth from me. If I'm messing up, whatever, you're going to tell me no matter what. My commitment to you is going to be something that's not going to get in the way of that, right? Is going to be that I'm going to try my best not to punish you or be reactive about it. If I do, call me on it, because sometimes I might be activated, but I am asking you and giving you permission. Tell me the truth no matter what. Like, otherwise, we're not going to, the trust isn't going to be there. The connection is not going to be there. But many people don't do that level of the work. So it's not just, oh, faith and family. It's what makes me tick, what creates connection for me, not just fitting in, but connection with people. What makes me feel separate from folks? What is it that is going to make me keep investing in relationship or things or activities or my time? And I can get these threads together. What's the impact that I want? And that's going to tell me, oh, this is what no relationship with me can do without, in terms of a healthy, whole one. Loyalty. That's for me. For somebody else, of course, it could be something completely different.
Thank you, because I did that exercise just very briefly yesterday, and one of the values surfaced immediately, which was integrity. Because something that makes me want to tear my hair out is when people say something and then they're not backing it up, basically, right?
So,
Or they act out of integrity.
so the behavior for you for integrity is you do what you say you're going to do.
Fuck yeah, I do.
Right? For somebody else, it would be like, oh, that's reliability or something. But for you, that to me, and for you, the behavior is integrity. You say what you're gonna, you do what you
Mm-hmm.
say you're going to do. So now
Yep.
everybody knows that's Megan's value, not the word integrity. Because for a lot of people, that can mean, oh, I hear a lot of people saying for integrity, what do you do when nobody's looking? Bullshit. I want you to do it when people are looking, not looking, whatever. But for you, it is do what you said you were going to do. And
Mm-hmm.
now, if I know that, I know that I'm not going to be cutting corners. I'm going to say, you know what? I'd love to be able to, but I can't because of X, Y, and Z. Or, hey, you know what? I'd love to do that, but I'm probably not the best person to do it, because it may have to do with competence too. Like, oh, I can totally nail this for you. So
Mm-hmm.
that's maybe the person you want to do. And that's going to be important to you, right? Instead of me not showing up, me doing a shit job and acting as if I could do it really well. So now, because you simply know that, not that your value is integrity, but the behaviors that you expect, you can set a boundary and expectations for people across the board.
Yeah, isn't that so helpful? But that made me think of the second one, which is I think reciprocity and like proactivity, like people taking the initiative as well, because it's like I can't do everything, I don't want to do everything. And so that's part of it, as well as me as a leader is like almost like personal responsibility. I'll have to work on that a little more. That's very draft one, but I think it's just what you said and put words around in terms of this. And this is actually like the beginning of your framework. So the book is called Anchored, Aligned, Accountable. And so these values that you're bringing up are really the anchored. I would be curious why you limit the values to two, because like you said, most exercises at least have 3 to 5, if not more, like way too many.
Yeah, I think you'll, in executive coaching or what have you, when we try to support people, we want like these big things to come all the way into focus for somebody. When you have more, and you're saying three, four, five, etc., then it's a dilution point, right? But if you're
Mhm.
doing the work to understand why this one, why that one, you're going to find core threads for your compass, like your true north. And I would say most coaches know this exercise backwards and forwards in terms of naming the top two values. They don't always go to behaviors, they don't always go to accountability, they don't always go to boundaries, which is where I try to take the granularity down to. One of the things you mentioned in my bio is that I had led for quite a while the Dare to Lead communities and Daring Way communities for Brené's organization. Even in her work, her exercise includes top two values and behaviors. And in the book, what people notice is that I actually go to the idea of, well, this is what leads to allowing you to measure accountability. This is
Mhm.
what should dictate what your actions are. This should actually tell you what is the impact and alignment, what you'd want from your values. And then the other aspect is it tells you easily what your own boundaries are. So that anchor into values is so much more than just this true north. It's a measurement for, are you living your life in accordance to how you want to? It tells you how you can engage with people up front and let them know what you expect. It can help you to make decisions really quickly when you feel like something's off or the vibe is weird here. And you go to
Mhm.
those top two values, oftentimes with my clients and with me as well. They're like, oh, shoot, this is because this is in breach of my values. It's not how I want to be. And now they can either get back into alignment or reconcile. This is why in this moment I'm choosing to do something that feels out of alignment. And so they have this degree of intentionality around it. And when you make decisions with intentionality, it allows you to not live this life of regret because you know exactly why you did something that was not in alignment and you're making this decision. But when you don't have that at all, you're just out here doing shit. You're just out here adhering to bullshit, not knowing why you made that decision, feeling like crap later that you did X, Y, and Z. But in this way, if I start off with this is my do or die truth here, I know why I'm cutting off relationships or creating different boundaries with people. I know why I'm not going to take that job, or when I take that job, I'm going to have some real distance in certain ways. We say high investment, low in terms of, hey, I'm going to be here, present, high engagement, low investment. I'm going to be present on the job, doing what I need to do in my role, but low investment. You're not going to get my emotional investment in this because it's not in alignment with my values. And I'm probably making a plan to exit at the same time.
Mhm. That makes so much sense. So, initially, like I'm going to circle back around. Did the issue of alignment or the conflict in your values come up in the process of writing and publishing this book?
I know it came up many times during writing the book, but in terms of in relationship with the book, um, yeah, I would say it came up in a few ways. One is even asking people what they think. So you all, your team collaborated with me on it, the book, and even when I had a thought and I couldn't fully maybe articulate it, and when I got it out there, I'd want, Blair to be able to like, does that make sense to you? And I'd be like, she's not really telling me the truth. Like things like that would happen where I'd second guess,
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not that I'm going to change something because you did or didn't think it made sense, but I need you to tell me the truth. Like that's some shit writing. I go, that made and you're the only one who's gonna get that, and no one else is gonna get that. We need to find another way to say it. So there'd be moments like that, or if I had somebody else doing a third read on it, I'd be like, "Are they telling me the truth?
Mm-hmm.
So can I trust them?" Like this loyalty thing would come up. The other part is my second value is justice. And in justice, what it looks like in terms of behavior is that people are historical context is always acknowledged and the impact on people, especially folks whose voices and well-being has not been centered, is also elevated. That to me is what justice looks like. And when I was writing this book, it was really important for me that um, one, the reason why I pushed myself to write it was because I'm like, one, there's not a lot of books published by Black women. are women of color. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a part of changing that stat. Two, I didn't want to put something else out there where somebody who looks like me or has lived experiences like me are like, what the hell is this? This shit does not relate to me. She does not get it because she doesn't understand, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, I want to make sure it's expansive in my perspective, lived experience, and other people's. And so that is where that value of justice was coming up. And as you know, like you said, this book has been in the making for a long time. And not the idea of it, but also the process of it. And when the administration in the US changed, there's a lot about the language I used or what have you. And oh man, this idea of, the book having a degree of appeal towards reader versus not. And what that would look like is taking out certain components that were clearly about identity and power. And
Mm.
identity and power are net neutral and are important to speak about whenever you're talking about one leadership, I believe.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, but when it's going to be a banned book because you're talking about X, Y, and Z and all these things. And the decision was all of the narrative or anecdotes in the book we kept the same. The identities of the people are the same. I don't think you can talk about decision making and leadership without understanding what experiences are in the room and your impact on people. And
Mm-hmm.
as you know, in the book, one of the things I talk about is I anchored, aligned, accountable is not just a framework, it's a description of space. Spaces where people are anchored in their values, aligned in terms of their impact and action, but they are accountable. And there are very few accountable spaces, I think, in organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
of course, what we're seeing now in these global levels as well. So I'm talking about anchored, aligned, accountable spaces, which are different from safe spaces. And I have a commentary
Mm-hmm.
about why safe spaces don't work. I talk about the evolution towards brave spaces, which was a great improvement, where two professors that I name in the book, Brian Araro, and he also has a partner, Kristen. I can't remember her last name right now, where they coined that because they were doing social justice work and they needed people to be able to say things that didn't adhere to this is a safe space because you're going to feel unsafe when you're saying things that are countering um,
Mm-hmm.
a majority in the room. And then we have psychological safe spaces, which you know really well. It's a buzzword. Everyone talks about it now based on Amy Edmondson's work, but none of those have a requisite that you acknowledge power and identity and you name them. Because
Yeah.
you can't talk about a space where people can show up and we're accountable without thinking about the impact we have on people, whether it's intentional or not, based on just walking in the room. When I come into many rooms, I'm already at a deficit. I'm already seen as being behind the ball. And if somebody is a leader there in the room who I report to doesn't recognize that, how do they create a space for me to have voice? If they don't name it, you're the only woman in the room, but I'm not going to acknowledge it at all. But I'm going to ask you to say things that are daring, brave, and counter to. Or I'm going to ask you to describe an experience or to share your perspective, your lived experience when nobody else in this room may even have ever had that experience, but I'm inviting you to do that. So I needed to speak to what some of the barriers could be already and mitigate their impact. But those spaces of safe spaces, brave spaces, and psychologically safe spaces, none of those have that as a requisite. But if you're
Mm.
going to be anchored into your values, accountable for your impact, I need to know that, hey, people have to say, that wasn't my intention. Great, that wasn't your intention, but you need to be accountable for what the impact was, whether it's intentional or not. And that means that if you use a word, yeah, you didn't know that's what that word meant, but it has this impact of silencing people or sending the message of these people don't belong here or they're less than, be accountable for it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the same in terms of I can't even be accountable for it unless I am committed to ensuring that my actions are aligned with these values. And guess what? I can't even do that when I don't even know what my values are, what's even important, or what I'm willing to be held responsible for, or what's I named to be my true north.
That leads me right into my next question, which was around accountability and like, why do you think people struggle so much to admit they fucked up?
Yeah, the coach in me wants to say, Megan, why do you think that is?
I think it's because it involves humility, which is something you bring up. I think it challenges our ego that wants to believe we're right about everything. I think psychologically it's really fucking scary, and most people have never been taught to truly do it. They don't have the skills.
Yeah. So I think yes to all of those. And I think also people like to be liked. People want to be liked and they want to be in connection with people. And we're wired that way. So if I'm going to say something that's hard and maybe it's even hurtful to Megan, and then Megan may think I'm the villain, she may not like me, she's going to avoid me, she's going to X, Y, and Z, I'd rather not. I want to maintain that relationship and that connection more than I want her to be held accountable. And if it's something
Yeah.
that is harming or hurting me, many of us will say, I'd rather take the blow than to rock the boat. Or if I'm the one in the team meeting who says the thing that everybody knows that Bob is the weak link here, and he's always coming late, turning in stuff late, etc., and nobody else on the team is saying anything. If I say I know that I might be the villain in the room now. So
Yeah,
not
well, you're gonna
only
get your head chopped off. You're
right,
gonna get your head chopped off. Yeah.
right, she's a snitch, or she's the one, ugh, can't believe you sold him out like that, or I don't want to work with Aiko because she's going to be the one who says or does. So we don't want to be ostracized and excommunicated. We don't like that feeling of being the bad guy. There's nothing that feels good about it. We want to be in connection and in community. But the thing about accountability is that it's stigmatized, just like the word feedback. When people hear, oh, I'm going to give you feedback, what comes up? What do you feel when I say, I need to give you some feedback, Megan?
I assume it's gonna be criticism.
Right. And like, oh no, let me brace myself. Oh my gosh. No matter how much all the writings are about feedback, you should embrace it. It's opportunity. It's going to make you blah, blah, better. No matter what, it's still a stigma associated with it. And the same has happened with accountability. But what I try to present in the book is that accountability looks like a lot of different things. And you can hold people accountable with generosity. Many folks don't really get that, and that accountability doesn't mean, Megan, you said you were going to do this and you didn't. Like, it doesn't, it's not blaming, shaming, kicking somebody, beating them down, demoralizing them, humiliating them. It can be curiosity. And in the book I talk about how curiosity is care. This idea of me even saying, hey, well, Megan, when I heard you say this, you said it in this way, or this is what I heard you say. I just want to know more about it. So I'm not even saying when you use that word, or you, I'm really curious because one, it takes humility for me to also be curious because I'm owning that I don't really know what you meant by that. So I'm willing to suspend whatever conclusion I've jumped to or whatever story I'm telling myself in order to hear you out and to be there and to even understand that I'm probably going to learn something here. And also, it gives you the
Yeah.
opportunity to share and I guess explaining too, but you're sharing. And so now that I've heard that, I'm like, oh, okay, I understand where she was coming from. Now, I may still not agree, but I was like, oh, I understand where she's coming from. Or, whoa, that's a whole different take. I didn't even know. Doesn't mean that I'm going to exonerate you and pass on the impact. I still will say, you know what? And when I heard that, this is what happened for me. I have better context now, but I do want to share with you this is what happened, or this is how it landed in the room. So now you're not being just beat down. You're understanding, oh, the context. You're not saying, she didn't even hear my part, blah, blah, blah. And I came in knowing that there was a chance that there's something about you I don't understand or that might not be right or that I should give myself, take a beat to listen to. And that's showing care. Being curious enough to actually ask somebody and inquire and to hear is an act of care. And curiosity takes, in that way, open curiosity takes emotional labor, it takes time, and it takes mental capacity, all things that in the society we feel really short of.
Yeah. Because we don't take care of ourselves first, right? We don't shore up our own reserves first before showing up. So then you have all these like thin energy, low emotional capacity, low mental capacity, burned out people at each other. For listeners, I just waved my arms at each other. Like, like when people fight, like when little kids fight with each other, or like that very wavy hand clappy thing. But like that is very like it's a recipe for a lot of disaster. Speaking of disaster, I'm going to spill the beans and share that your book has a really cool format. And we've kept this format since proposal stage, where readers can actually like play out real life situations. I'm guessing these are based in your experience as an executive coach and as a woman out in the world, right? So why did you want to structure your book that way? And I'm purposely not saying how most people would describe this because those folks are very litigious, but like in terms of this, like being able to go into an example and say, I would do A and then follow A all the way to the end. And same thing with B or C. Like, why did you want to structure your book that way?
One, I wanted to have the anecdotal evidence of scenarios that people could relate to. The other part is I wanted people to actively make choices and think about why would I have made that choice or not. So they're increasing their self-awareness and understanding why would I do that? And then they're also playing out, well, these are some of the possible outcomes that could happen. And oftentimes when we are one, you're also somatically going through it. So I can understand when I'm reading the scenario, many people have said, oh my gosh, my heart was beating when I was reading that scenario because I could relate to it. And I felt myself getting angry and I could feel myself
Yeah.
getting up a ladder. And so one, just somatically feeling what it feels like in your body when the scenario is happening. Then the part of the hard thing of making a choice, because many of us are avoidant and we won't even make a choice. But for us to make a choice and then to think about it, because then when we do make a choice, we sometimes just leave it to go wherever it may fall, the chips fall where they may, versus debriefing ourselves and thinking about why did I do that? And what led me to X, Y, and Z? And even how did it feel when I did that? And is there another option? Because again, we're on the hamster wheel. We're just doing whatever, especially when something feels hard and uncomfortable. We just rip the band aid off, do it, and not look back versus building up our threshold for vulnerability and to be present in those moments so that we can be intentional and then to even stay in the moment all the way through and carry it to the accountability to understand the impact. I wanted people to somatically feel what it feels like to be in those situations, to be able to take a beat and think through why would I have done that, to see a different perspective of how it could land on the other end, and to see what the options are of other ways to do things. So it really is the self-awareness, the somatic experience, and then the learning about themselves and even thinking about other people on the multiple points of a scenario. And many of
I
us,
love that.
we don't have the threshold of vulnerability to do that. And it's a skill that we have to build and a capacity. And I think the book invites that. And I think the framework of how we coach, when I think about the value of having executive coach and somebody holding a non-judgmental space for you and helping you to play things out and hear yourself, it's
Mm-hmm.
like priceless growth and feeling empathy at the same moments am I holding that space. Yeah.
I love that. I actually had an Aiko moment based in one of the examples. I had this will be a reference for you, but I had a Kelsey and Brie moment with a friend. Where I was definitely Kelsey. And I guess Kelsey, spoiler alert, in the book, Kelsey is white and Brie is black. And although I feel very proud of like being able to like manage those situations better than the average white woman, I still fuck up. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was able to like be like, ooh, and I did feel it in my body. And I literally sat down, I was traveling. And I literally sat down in my hotel room and I thought, what would I go do in this situation? Why would I go tell me to do? And I made the repair. I was I'm humble and I was like, look, I really fucked up. I'm really sorry. That wasn't the kind of person I mean to be, and like that's not cool, and like I'm very sorry. And my friend was just like, she's been through it. So she was just like, I get it. I know that's not who you are. It's fine. But like I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, definitely. I completely understand. And I love this framework and I'm very excited to like work my way through the book more thoroughly as well. Because I think you're one of the smartest people I know.
Oh, thank you. I hope that when people read it too, like when they say, "Oh, what did I say I would do in the book? Does that work or not? Why was I compelled to do that, and how would I have wanted it to be?" Like, so it's not because in the book, I don't think I necessarily tell people what to do, but I want them to understand the impacts and why they may make different choices. And I
Mm-hmm.
want them to walk away with that, like, oh, shit, you know what? I'm adhering to this bullshit that I've heard since I was 2 years old, and I'm not doing it anymore. Or I want
Yep.
them to say, oh, I'm being defensive, and why? What am I being defensive? And what is it going to get me? And is it going to help this relationship? So one of the things I talk about the channel one, channel two listening that many people are very familiar with if you're in comms or anything. But I talk about introduce this concept about a channel three listening. And I'm hoping that when people read the book and they're introduced to this concept, that they start engaging in their relationships in a channel three way. But it takes skill to do that, and they have to be self aware. And I think that will change relationships at work and at home.
Because to recap, channel one is listening to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Channel two is, remind me, listening to learn,
Listening to understand,
listening to understand. And then channel three is,
listening for connection,
I love it.
like connection to the person. And we know that when you're at channel three, what I've noted in my practice is that everything changes. The words that somebody chooses to use, they won't use a certain word that they would have used at channel one or channel two.
Mm-hmm.
They actually pause longer in conversation because they're taking in the person's somatics, expression, body language, and energy. So they pause longer. Eye contact looks different. And they're considering and thinking in different ways that may be more heart centered versus just head, knower, wanting to be right, etc.
Yep.
And it changes the whole outcome of a conversation and how you engage.
Hmm. And isn't that what everybody wants, is like actual connection and reciprocity in their relationships, and like that fidelity that you talked about earlier? I think that's what everybody's sort of craving in this like quick take pundit environment. Um, okay, so this book changed a lot over the course of our work together. We started the proposal process. So I have an archive. I go to the OG contract most of the time. We started it, okay, in December. We're recording this for context in December 2025. We started this December 2021,
You're
which is like,
lying.
no,
Yeah, you for real?
I'm, yeah,
Get
100%
out of
for real.
town. Oh my god.
Yes, yes. You were on our client spreadsheet for a very, very long time. You got your deal in 2022. Okay, so let's just, that actually is pretty normal, right? Like we would have started it in late 21. We would have finished the proposal probably like early springish, summerish 2022. And then the book's coming out in 2026, which actually isn't that long of a trajectory. It's a bit long. Your book's coming out in 2026, so that's a long time. And not all of that delay or that placement or that decision on when your book would come out was entirely in your control, because with traditional publishing books, that your pub date is never entirely in your control as an author. It's one of those differences. But I'm curious, what did you learn about yourself by having to work that long on a project?
One, it takes endurance, but the way that I work is kind of ADHD-ish, is that I usually have to have a lot of irons in the fire or I get bored really fast. Um, and so just like when somebody is running a marathon or doing something, an endurance sport, it's great to have somebody who's a pacer or pacing with you or what have you to make sure that you don't just, lose it. um, or, or you're still staying focused and present. So for me, partnering with you all was really so important because it would be on a shelf somewhere collecting dust. Not only running the business, being a mom of two teenage boys, all these other things that are happening in my life, it may have like just gone and been on the shelf. So it was great to have the discipline of every other week I'm meeting and going through refining, etc. And even going through edits, like stopping me from almost rewriting something over and over again and being able
Yes.
to have this person as a metronome who's like, good enough, instead of going back into the rabbit hole. So for me, already always knew that I have to be doing multiple things to just keep myself enjoy life the way I want to. So the discipline of going back to something over and over again was just, it was like killing me.
It kills everybody. This isn't just your ADHD brain. I've literally recorded a podcast yesterday and my client was like, I could not fucking believe how many times we looked at this thing.
Oh my God. Even now, like today, I'm like, gosh, I would want to change this. I'd want to change that. And of course, since 2021, I've had more learnings, more insights that would take the work even to a different level. But I was like, you know what? At a point, you just got to call it. And
Yep.
I was like, you know what? This is what the evolution iteration of life is. So you just got to call it and keep it moving. But I did learn just that endurance of doing something for that long, like writing a thesis or something, dissertation, or working on a lawsuit that is dragging forever is hard. And I like working in connection with people. So that was another added benefit that really, I love that support, getting that support from your org.
Yeah. So you worked with my colleague Blair both on proposal and on manuscript. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was like a great match for you all
Mm-hmm.
too. Like, I think it was just a good match of energy and some good match of collaborative thinking. I'm trying to think of, so in the process, you came up with this framework of anchored, aligned, accountable in the process of writing the book.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come up for you as an author, where you had to be, we touched upon this a little bit before, but like, were there elements where you had to tell, the people you worked with that, hey, loyalty and justice are my ultimate values. Here's how we're going to operate. Like, a lot of authors feel like the relationship with their editor or their publishing house is awkward or not equal partnership. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you treated that as an author? Because usually you're in like the coach role and now you're kind of in the client role.
And you mean the client role in engagement with the publisher?
Yes.
I think, I think there are a lot of dynamics that came into play. So one was, and I think that for a lot of women, for Black women, for people who have any kind of identity where you're not usually perceived as a subject matter expert or the knower or whatever, you often are constantly reframing yourself for people so that they understand like what your
Mm-hmm.
boundaries are, what's okay, what's not
Mm-hmm.
okay. Um, I feel like even us working together, like one of the reasons I chose you all to partner with is because I already knew that you recognized power dynamics, that part of what you all focus on and target is working with authors, recognizing one, there's an identity gap in the publishing industry and in authorship, and you all wanting to take that on and be a part of that. So I already knew that. So I was like, okay, bet. So now I have to explain to her how the whole wheel works and what.
You don't have to explain white privilege to me. I'm very steeped in it.
But even like how to deal with me or what in that way, like to me, which is baseline, and it's exhausting to have to do that and to trust your work or intellectual property with somebody. I was like, I'm not even doing that. And there's not a lot of, I think, Black folks who do what you all do either.
Yeah,
And then
unfortunately.
even in resetting and working with Blair too, like knowing like what is that dynamic going to be like, and then even with the publishers, et cetera. So it was one that came to bear a lot for me, or I wouldn't say a lot, but was always front of mind. It always is, I think, for people like me. The other part, like, am I going to be respected? Is my work going to be
Mm-hmm.
respected? Is my voice going to be heard? And how much am I going to have to like get crunk and be at 100? So weighing
I
that,
don't want anyone to have to take their earrings off. If
right?
anyone's taking their earrings off, it's me.
Yes,
Like,
you're weighing it
I.
at all times. And I felt like also from the get go when I spoke with you, I was like, oh man, this woman, she's gonna, go to the mat and she's gonna fight for me and be present and be like, I'm not, your book's not going out to some bullshit people. And I was like, yes. Like I felt like you're there for me, you believed in the work, and wow, okay, we can move forward. So the other part that was very similar or parallel was that I was working in a space that I was not familiar with. And so I had to be able to rely on not being the knower or having subject matter expertise and have deference in that way, which is really hard when you're used to always trying to have your own back and be grounded around and be like, I'm going to trust these people and then trust people who don't look like me. I don't know. And similarly with publishing, like, are they going to be fair to me? Are they going to, have my back? Are they going to try to get over? What are they going to try to change the words so all these things are happening, um, and that I have to wait and keep myself self-regulated awareness about, okay, Aiko, this story you're telling yourself versus this. You need to know what you need so that you can ask for what you need. You need to be clear about your boundaries so that these things. So basically, I had to practice the things that I'm supporting my clients with, and I was totally struck gold because I have an amazing editor who looks like me, and she is so dope and amazing and similar to with you off. Like, she has my back. This woman is going to be like to the mat for me. And for me, with the loyalty part, that's so important. Like, are you going to tell me like it is? And you're going to tell them like it is. Can I
Yep.
tell you when this is not jiving with me? Yes. Are you going to hear my voice and value it? So really, those values of loyalty and justice playing out the whole time through all the relationships. So never, I don't think, in any of the those interactions that I say, look, you need to know these are my top two values. But I know that throughout the interaction, I was adhering to those. They kept coming up. The things that I felt activated by was because, oh man, are they really telling me the truth or not? Oh man, are they downplaying my voice? And would they be like this with other people? Oh man, the deal that they're giving me, is this a fair deal or not? It was great. It was a major deal at the end of the day. Um, and I was excited about that. But it was, even through that, it was like, okay, is this what it's worth, or are they playing with me? So I was always weighing, just because of one virtue of, experiencing the world. Um, it's very vulnerable being in a space that you're not familiar with, you're not an expert in, that you have to have humility around. And it's your own creative work, and it's your lived experience in there. I have stories that are my own personal stories in there. And is it true to what I really experienced? And is it honest? So it was all those things I felt were on the line. And I had to just practice what I preach in terms of being centered, being grounded, and being clear about, okay, this is not, and being able to ask for what I need.
I love that so much. And I think it's really useful because I think there is the reason that so many people of color self-publish is because they assume, sometimes rightly, sometimes not, that the traditional publishing world won't be kind to them or inclusive to them. And I think, just like everybody sort of predicted, the diversity initiatives of 2020 have totally dropped off in our industry. Unfortunately, there's still some inroads happening, but it's definitely still happening. But that's kind of like how I see how I can leverage my privilege as a white, cis, het seeming person, that I can go in and kind of take my earrings off, right? And go in and kind of be like, no, you don't get to talk to my client this way. Also, do you realize what you're saying? Most of the time I come into like, do you realize what you're saying right now? Do you hear yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, have somebody who has that lens and they're going to call it before you have to. It's like a relief, because a lot of
Yeah.
us are in the rooms where no one sees it, and we have to make a choice every moment of, okay, how crunk do I have to get from 0 to 100? And
Yeah.
sometimes if we are not activated where we can make that intentional choice, and we don't just go all the way out, or we shut down.
Or to
And
go all the way back to like our colleague Lane's book, who I interviewed on the pod in an earlier episode, like, do we choose silence in that moment because we can't be bothered to explain, centuries of disenfranchisement.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. So it's great to have people there who have your back, and just like every relationship, you have to learn, is that the truth, and trust it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what like the integrity comes in, right? Of like, if I do what I say, and if I can't do what I promise, then I'm going to come in with an explanation for it and a justification for it and be honest with you about it. Then hopefully that will build trust. And then your loyalty and justice can sit with my integrity and reciprocity and create a really great relationship for years to come, which is the goal, right? Okay. So our listeners are entrepreneurs and experts who want to get a book deal. They have a book idea on their hearts. Many, based on the data we have, are still in the process of building out their thought leadership, their frameworks, their content, their businesses, and their audiences. How can you recommend using your book, and specifically the Anchored, Aligned, and Accountable framework, to advance these goals and maybe help listeners get out of their own way?
Oh, I think number one, the part about why are you writing the book and why is it important to you? More than likely,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be steeped in something that pertains to your values. And I think just doing that initial part that we talked about earlier in terms of your values and behavior is going to help you keep yourself in check. And the way that I was just talking about how these two values played out the whole way, but from selecting you and your company and working with you all, from how I work with the publisher and the editor, the words I decided to put on the page where I was like, should I write this or should I not? I went back to my values to figure out, you know what, some people are going to like this and they're going to be like, why are you naming people's gender and why are you saying this? It's just everyone's human and we all have these scenarios. I was like, well, to me, I understand it is important. These are dynamics that play out in the choices that we make and how we engage in people. And that went back to my values of loyalty and justice and understanding the impact I want to have on the book. So I think that for aspiring artist authors, that will be so important for them to understand who do you want to be in writing this book, not just what do you want to gain in terms of a lot of folks
Mm-hmm.
use the book just to get more business, but it's the idea of who do you want to be and how do you want to show up in this book in a way that's honest to who you are. So that understanding your values and having that play out throughout. And when you don't, why not? Why not? Because that same shift or decision you're making, more than likely, you're making that same decision in your personal life and your work life. So why
Yeah.
do you not do the thing that's in alignment with your values? What is going on? And probably some of that bullshit that I name in the book is coming out to bear. So if you're able to go through the bullshit that I list out in the book and to name it when you're making decisions and they're not in alignment, you can understand, oh shit, this is what's playing out on me. And is that how I want this to go?
That's so smart. I love that. I love that accountability. Like, because you can, I think, the accountability starts with you. Everything starts with you, right? That's like a self help maxim. I literally have a book on my shelf over there about relationships called It Starts With You. It's a great book. But like, it is very much that. So I love that. Because I think a lot of people think, what I see a lot is people want the traditional book deal, but they don't want the life that comes with it, right? They don't want everything you have to do before you get that book deal. All the
Yeah,
development
it's
you have to
hard.
do, all the growth, all of the you have to be out there in a big way. You have to be willing to do this, right? Put yourself on YouTube for whatever comments are out there. All of that kind of stuff. It's a lot. It's people are different, right? Everybody's different. Everybody has different comfortability levels. Everybody has different, preferences. All of that is different. And so just because I don't ever say like self-publishing is wrong, because for some people it's the right move. But like,
Yeah,
I just don't want people to take themselves out of the game because the bullshit has told them that they can't play it.
yeah, that absolutely. Um, I will say the other part about because I thought about self-publishing too, and I had asked myself the reasons why I would do that, and it was one that you named is just like recognizing the publishing industry isn't always friendly to people like me. But the other one was that, wow, I could still fly under the radar. Like I'm an introvert. I don't like necessarily, having to be responsive to shit that people might say, do, or what have you. I'm an introvert, but I'm one that has like a real edge. And I like to try to stay, self-aware, etc. But I was like, I don't want to hear any shit about what anybody has to say about what I have to say. And we know that that doesn't fly and doesn't work. But I did think about, and I think a lot about the comfort of being under the radar a lot. And I just had to hold myself accountable for that in many ways. Even with public speaking, I love keynotes and things like that. And after I do it, I love it, but I always have to do my own little inner work and grounding before I do.
Mm-hmm.
And the cost of doing self-publishing, the cost rather than pitching to traditional publishers, it didn't make sense to me in terms of the cost of what I would be paying and forfeiting and opportunity cost and what is it in coaching myself. Like if you're coaching yourself, what would you be saying? And I was like, deeper threshold for vulnerability, girl.
Yeah,
What is it that you're
and
forfeiting? Yeah. And I was like, okay, hold yourself accountable because this is what you're doing. You're, why you're selling yourself short and your beliefs and your smarts and your experience. And I had to get myself together on that.
I love it. Also, if you're afraid of what people are saying, I won't send you any 5-star reviews when you get them.
You know what? But the other thing is, it's like, it's weird because it's not like this afraid of, it's like, I don't want to come out of character, like of who I want to be. And I know that I can just get enraged. And
Yeah.
other aspects too. But of course, also, you want people to like the book and you want people to get stuff out of it. And to feel not, it's like, oh, those are, it's hard to not take it personally when it's your own intellectual property, right?
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I mean, I think it's hard to not take anything personally that's related to your business, your ideas,
Your
how you're
ideas,
showing
yeah.
how you're showing up in the world. That's super. I mean, it's hard to not take anything in the world ever personally. Like
Mhm.
someone, cuts me off in traffic, I could take that personally if I really wanted to, right?
Right.
Like that's totally a thing.
Yeah.
Here in Seattle, the culture here, nobody speaks to you, no one looks at you. You could take that real personal if you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, so given that this is honestly the last question. So given that you've achieved what everybody listening to this wants, which is a book deal, a published book out in the world, what would be your best advice? Like if I was sitting down with you at a cafe or over a cocktail, like what would you say friend to friend about your experience?
Mm. I don't know. I think people understanding why do they want to do it? Like, what do they want to get out of it?
Yeah.
Why do you want to do it? And also that it's not simple. It's not like just writing that term paper or that thesis or what have you. It's not that simple. I think the other thing is to reach out to people who have the subject matter expertise. That's really important. I mean, I have a dear friend who has published many books that have done really well, and it was so great for me to be able to say, "Hey, this is what's going on. What do you think?"
Mm-hmm.
The pitching, it was so great having your outfit with me. Like there are all these rules around what your book proposal needs to have in it, what it shouldn't, all these other things, and many people feel like, "Hey, I just have to have the first draft done." Actually, no, you don't have to have the first draft done, and you need to have. And so, going to people who are subject matter experts really helped me and shortcut it, and not sending it and emailing it to everybody in the industry, which they tell you, but like people who are reputable, who are already going to let you know. And I think that being willing to honor what I don't know and to be able to seek the help that I did need and the support is the reason why this book is out there. And I would have taken so many other turns and detours that are out there about guidance about getting published that would have just been time saps. And I don't know if I would have had the endurance to do all of it while I am running this business and doing all the other things that make my life full.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, I brought this up in the other interview I did this week, which was an episode that ran probably a couple months before this one's going to air, about leverage and how like the thing you're buying back is your time when you hire us to help you with your book or your proposal, or even we do one-on-one consults now for people that need to grow their audience. Like you're buying time, you're buying your time back, and time is the only non-renewable resource we've got. So
Yeah,
you can buy more money. You can make more money, right? You
yeah,
can't make more time.
that's right. And I think it's not only just time, it's ease. Like that chasing down rabbit holes, not really knowing, not being clear, what have you, and people who've been there, done that. It's yeah, you're getting time, but also that ease and not that constant hesitation. Am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? But people who already have the subject matter expertise and relationships, it makes a difference.
Yeah, and we're able to say, "Oh, this is right," or "Oh, that's weird," or "What's going on there?" And then, I had a client recently. They were also leadership consultants, and we were back channeling with their agent. I was back. I was back channeling with their agent about something, and they were like, "Oh, we really want to be included." And I was like, "Actually, no, you don't, because
Mhm,
if you guys get involved, the back channeling will not be as effective. So can you
mhm,
just let me do my thing, and
mhm,
I'm gonna rope you in whenever it's necessary, but
mhm.
otherwise, babe, what you don't hear is what's best for you,
Right, right.
basically."
Take a beat over there. And I was very happy to, release the reins on that part. There was something else I wanted to add that was about a value of working with you. Oh, the other thing that was really a value of working with you all was that, at no point were you all ever trying to make a call for me. You were always one I felt really prepped going into all the conversations with lit agents, in terms of you all making sure I knew what was going on, why this was important, etc. The other thing in working with Blair, like they were always my call and my ideas and my edits and things. And I think sometimes if you're hiring support or collaboration, you think that, oh man, they're going to run me over. I'm going to get lost in the sauce. They're going to be telling me what to do, etc. And that was never, I never felt that way. And that was never the case. So I didn't feel like I was losing any agency or ownership, but that's one of the things that I was fearful of in, getting collaborators and working like that. So I did want to highlight that. And you all never abandoned me. Like there was the book proposal. It was the prepping with the lit agents. It was look how long it took for this book to happen. And you all were never like, look, girl, deuces.
We do have the Aiko rule. So I name additions to our contracts after people. So like we started charging royalty kickbacks with Elaine.
Yeah,
and Aiko
taking a while. Wait a minute, what is happening here? But
the Aiko rule is if it goes over 18 months, we have to charge you at an hourly rate.
Which is totally fair. But just the fact that I never thought you all were like trying to like just leave and be like, F you. And that you all were invested in my idea, the book, and me. And so I wanted to name those factors.
I love that. Yeah, that's the thing. Like we don't. I had a client who hired a different collaborator for her manuscript, and then she had a question that came up in the manuscript process that her collaborator could not answer. And she said, hey, would you answer this for me? And I said, yeah, I will. I'll hop on the phone with you for 5 minutes and tell you what's normal or what's not. Mm-hmm. That's about as far as I'm going to go without charging you some more. But like, that's the value. I see this as a high-end service. And so a high-end service should respond at a high-end level, right? And it's just to me, I want to be treated like that. And I've gotten very harsh with other providers just because I'm like, oh, you market yourself as a luxury service. This is not a luxury experience though.
Right.
Because I hold myself to that high like level, right? I want to be like the Bergdorf Goodman of
it was
collaboration.
Megan Stevenson for the win. Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. It's like, I want to be like, my husband's like, there's no VIP experience you don't want. And I was like, you say that like it's a bad thing. Yeah. It's a great thing.
That's right.
So thank you, Aiko. I know this episode's going to be super, super helpful for everybody out there. I know that you wanted to share a way for people to continue working with you. So it is the retreat you're going to host here.
Oh, I'm so excited about
in October 2026. So tell me a little bit about that before we
I'm so excited about the retreat. It's the first in the series of Anchored, Aligned, and Accountable retreats. And this one's called Sounds, Systems, and Silence. And it's very much about being able to identify bullshit in your system, to be able to critique the systems that you're navigating so that you can create the one you want and engage the way that you want to. And it's in the jungle of Costa Rica. So talk about being in a different
That's fun.
And having different sounds and being in silence. That will be it. But I'm super excited. It's a luxury retreat, and I'm just excited to work with a small cohort of people in a different system. Yeah,
I love that. I'm very excited. We'll include a link to that in the show notes for sure. And all your socials will be there as well. Aiko, thank you so, so much. Everyone who's listening, go get Anchored, Aligned, and Accountable. It is a great book. It will help you with your business. It'll help you with your book. And it'll help you be less of an asshole to everyone around you. Because you won't be steeped in the bullshit.
Yeah.
And everyone, cheers to your success. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning into the Kind of Big Book Deal podcast. Want to see where you're at on your book journey? Check out my free quiz at meganstevenson.com/quiz. That's MEGHANSTEVENSON.com/quiz. See you next time.